What's up guys, Kevin or the Sports Geek here, and in this video I'm going to go over my Sports Geek Pro model over at FantasyLabs for NFL Week 11, and this week I'm going to be taking a look at the wide receiver position. So I've got four value wide receivers here that are ranking at the top. The Sports Geek model usually gives out value wide receivers, and these are guys that you probably don't want to have a ton of exposure to, but you definitely can throw in a couple GPP lineups, even cash depending on the receiver. For these guys that I'm going to talk about that are ranking the highest in the Sports Geek model, I'm not sure if I would have any of them in a cash lineup this week, but I think they're all good GPP plays. So the highest rated receiver here is Eddie Royal. He's 3,400. Chicago is in New York against the Giants, and Alshon Jeffrey is out for Chicago. So instantly Cameron Meredith becomes a chalky play this week at 4,100. I think he's a good play. You can see he definitely has the upside. If he gets targeted, he usually produces. You can see his 2 games with double-digit targets. He's gotten 30 and 25 DraftKings points. So he's going to be a popular play. Definitely really like him as well. But a good pivot off him for GPPs might be Eddie Royal at 35 or 3,400 this week. You can see his past DraftKings scores have been pretty good. He was dealing with an injury here, missed a couple games, came back, didn't get much action last week. But before that, he had double-digit DraftKings points in 4 of 6 games. One of the other games was a 9.4. So he's got a pretty good floor. And with Alshon out, I would expect for him to probably put up, I'd say 10 or more DraftKings points. And he does have the upside to get you maybe 20 DraftKings points. And that would be really solid at 3,400 to start your GPP lineup. So I do think it's a risky play just given the matchup. If it was an easier opponent, I think I would have more Eddie Royal exposure. But given that it's the Giants, Chicago was on the road, Cutler didn't look great last week, I don't think I'll have too much exposure to him. But again, if I was doing 10 lineups, I'd probably throw Eddie Royal in 1, maybe 2 lineups. So next up here, we have Devante Parker. He's $4,100 this week. The Dolphins are in LA against the Rams, so not the best matchup for Parker, but his price is pretty cheap, $4,100. It's actually gone down $200 despite putting up 18 DraftKings points last week. He was targeted 8 times. Caught 5 passes for 103 yards, and his price dropped. And you can see at the start of the year, he was at 5,300. So we're getting a pretty good discount on Parker. Not the best matchup, but I think he'd be a good GPP play. Probably going to be under 5% owned, and he does have the upside to put up over 20 DraftKings points. So he's someone that I would throw in a couple lineups for sure. The third wide receiver here, and maybe my favorite of the 4, is Golden Tate. He's 5,300 this week. He's got a good matchup. He's at home versus Jacksonville. Jacksonville is not horrible against the pass, but I do think Detroit will score some points. They're expected to, with the Vegas implied team total at 27 points for Detroit. So they're expected to score some points. Golden Tate has been the number 1 receiver in Detroit over the last couple of weeks. You can see the targets here, 12 targets, 9, 12, 10, 33 DraftKings points, 15, 11, 25 DraftKings points. So he's coming off 4 really good games, looks to be the number 1 receiver in Detroit again, and he's just $5,300 with Detroit expected to score 27 points. So I would definitely throw in Golden Tate into some GPP lineups. He's probably my favorite of the 4 here, and definitely one of my favorite value receivers overall. Again, he's not dirt cheap, but $5,300 is pretty cheap for a guy who's been producing pretty consistently lately. And then the final receiver here is Terrelle Pryor from the Browns. He's 5,600 this week. The Browns are at home against Pittsburgh. Pretty high total in the game, around 46.5 points. Pittsburgh's pretty big favorites, but I expect Cleveland to at least keep it competitive. I think this game might go over that total of 46.5, so I think Terrelle Pryor might be a good play. His price has gone down quite a bit. It's gotten up to 6,200 at one point, 6,100 the last couple weeks. And now we're getting him at 5,600. So a $500 discount from the past couple weeks. And he hasn't done too poorly in those games, 15, 21 DraftKings points. And then earlier in the season, 28 DraftKings points, 34 DraftKings points. He's coming off a game on, was it Thursday night, last Thursday, where he only put up 9.8 DraftKings points, but he did get 9 targets in that game. So he gets quite a few targets. If you look at his targets here, 14, 13, 12, 10, 9, 7. So a lot of targets. Number 1 receiver in Cleveland. He does have Coleman there to take away some of his targets, but I think he still gets targeted quite a bit in this game against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh doesn't have the greatest D. I think 5,600 is a pretty good price. So that wraps up my Sports Geek model preview of the wide receivers. I think all these plays down here too would be pretty good plays for GPPs. And it's just kind of figuring out which ones you want to take and which ones you want to throw in a couple lineups. So hope this video was helpful a little bit to you guys. If you guys enjoy the videos, click that thumbs up button. And as always, good luck in your contest this week.